Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Michael. I'm 60 years old now, and having worked with older patients for more than 3 decades, I've seen many stories that I suspect some of you will recognize in your own lives. Did you know? Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a stroke. And after the age of 50, that risk doesn't just increase, it multiplies, like a quiet shadow that slowly grows behind us. Yet here is the hopeful part. Most strokes are preventable if we understand the silent triggers that tap on our bodies every day. I want you to imagine something. Picture the blood vessels in your brain as highways. When we are young, those roads are smooth, with few potholes. But over the years, from pressure, from food, from lifestyle, heavy trucks pass by every day, leaving wear and tear. Sometimes the road still looks fine, until a small crack or an unexpected rock causes an accident. A stroke is much the same. It appears suddenly, but it was sown long before. I remember one of my patients, David, who was 67. He was a devoted father and husband, and he rarely missed breakfast with his family. He believed he was healthy because he walked in his yard every day. But one morning, just minutes after getting up to make coffee, he collapsed. His family was stunned. Fortunately, he reached the hospital in time. When I examined him, his blood pressure was dangerously high, and his cholesterol had been over the limit for years without him knowing. I still recall the look on his face when he said, "If only I had known sooner." My friends, I don't want any of you to utter the words, "if only." That's one reason I'm here today, to share the hidden factors, the risks people rarely talk about, that quietly increase stroke risk after 50. Have you ever wondered why two people the same age and background can have very different health outcomes? One sharp and active, the other struggling with illness. Often it's not luck. It comes down to knowledge and choices. Small daily decisions, a meal, a habit, a night's sleep, add up to the health we carry. And I want you to remember this. A stroke is not an unavoidable, sudden death sentence. On the contrary, modern science clearly shows that 70 to 80% of strokes can be prevented if we act in time. I say this not to scare you, but to give you hope. Because hope means you have the power to act, to choose, to care for your body starting today. I want you to ask yourself this. Has your body ever sent you messages? Your heart racing more than usual? Blood pressure readings that swing? Feeling unusually tired after a meal that seemed harmless? These aren't small annoyances. They are whispers from your body. If we listen, we can change course before it's too late. At 60, I've learned one thing. Health is not a miracle. It's the result of quietly repeated habits. A little less salt at dinner, 10 more minutes of walking each morning, learning to let go of stress so you sleep better. These small acts, compounded, may determine whether you live an extra 10 to 20 years healthy and present with your family, or spend those years tied to hospital visits. So in this video, I'll walk you through 8 stroke risk factors after 50, from high blood pressure, cholesterol, heart disease, and diabetes, to some lesser-known triggers like poor sleep, chronic stress, belly fat, and too much sitting. I won't just name them. I'll tell real stories I've seen over the years and explain what modern science shows. Are you ready to join me on this journey? Think of this not as a medical lecture, but as a private conversation between two friends, sitting side by side, sharing what matters most for the years ahead. My friend, let me guide you through each risk. I don't want you to just hear the theory. I want you to see how these risks show up in real life, in people just like you, and in the patients I've cared for over the years. The first risk, high blood pressure, the silent killer. Did you know that nearly half of adults in America are living with high blood pressure, and many don't even know it? I remember Susan, 72, who came to see me with a dull headache she thought was just from poor sleep. When we checked her blood pressure, the number flashed, 180 over 100. She looked at me in surprise. "But I feel fine." And that's the problem. High blood pressure rarely causes obvious symptoms until a stroke happens. Picture your blood vessels like a garden hose. If the pressure inside is too high for too long, over time, the hose begins to crack. Lowering your blood pressure by just 10 points can cut your stroke risk by nearly 30%. Simple, isn't it? yet it can be the key to saving your life. The second risk, high cholesterol, the silent builder. I often call it the fatty layer that sticks inside the pipes. John, a 65-year-old retired teacher, once told me, "Doctor, I don't eat that much greasy food." But his blood test showed his LDL, the bad cholesterol, was double the recommended level. The problem isn't just what we see on the plate, but how the body handles it after 50. When plaques build up in the brain's arteries, just one rupture can block blood flow completely. The good news? With diet adjustments, more fiber, and regular movement, those numbers can improve significantly. The third risk, heart disease, because the heart and brain are one system. Many people think stroke is just a brain disease, but often it starts in the heart. A heart rhythm problem called atrial fibrillation causes the blood to pool and form clots. Those clots can travel straight to the brain. I once met William, 74, a man who loved music. He thought his heart racing was just excitement from lively songs, but it was actually untreated atrial fibrillation. A year later, he suffered a minor stroke. If only it had been recognized earlier, much of the suffering could have been avoided. The fourth risk, diabetes. Diabetes is not just a high blood sugar number. It's a process that makes your blood vessels age faster than your actual years. I once told a 55-year-old patient, "Your arteries look like those of a 70-year-old." She broke down in tears, but it was true. High blood sugar acts like rust on steel, making vessels stiff, inflamed, and prone to blockage. The hopeful news? Dropping HbA1c by just 1% can lower stroke risk by 12%. Balanced meals and steady activity, without extreme measures, are some of the most powerful medicine we have. The fifth risk, abdominal obesity, the invisible backpack. Being overweight is not just about the number on the scale. It's about how belly fat releases chemicals that weaken blood vessels. I once told a patient, "Do you feel like you're carrying a heavy backpack all day long?" He nodded with a weary smile. Losing just 5 to 10% of body weight can lower stroke risk significantly. Don't aim for perfection. Just lighten the load a little, and you'll breathe easier and feel your heart beat steadier. The sixth risk, poor sleep, the silent thief. Have you ever woken up at night with your heart racing and your breath short? Sleep apnea is one of the most overlooked risk factors. It raises blood pressure, strains the heart, and deprives the brain of oxygen. I had a patient, Linda, who thought she just snored loudly, but tests showed she had sleep apnea. After starting a CPAP machine, her blood pressure stabilized, and she told me, "Doctor, for the first time in years, I feel like I actually slept." The seventh risk, stress and loneliness. It may sound like just an emotional issue, but stress makes the heart race, blood pressure rise, and over time inflames blood vessels. I remember an older gentleman who, after losing his wife, lived alone. His blood pressure spiked, his blood sugar worsened. But when his children and grandchildren began visiting more often, his numbers gradually improved. You see, health isn't only about medicine. It's also about connection and human touch. The eighth risk, a sedentary lifestyle. I once read a saying, "Sitting is the new smoking of the 21st century." We spend hours in front of screens, while just 30 minutes of walking a day can cut stroke risk by nearly 30%. I always tell my patients, don't think you need intense gym workouts. Just walking, lifting your arms, rolling your shoulders. Every small movement is a gift to your heart and blood vessels. English. My friend, after everything I've just shared, I hope you don't leave this video with fear. I don't want you to think that turning 50 or 60 is the end of the road. Instead, see it as a gentle reminder. It's time we treat our bodies with respect, with kindness, and with understanding. You know, I've had patients who felt hopeless after a stroke. They thought life was over. But with persistence and lifestyle changes, they not only lived for many more years, but lived healthier and happier with their families. And some people, just by starting with something small, like eating half a banana instead of a whole one, or choosing a walk instead of sitting in front of the TV, completely transformed their health journey. I want you to remember that stroke doesn't happen in a single day. It's the result of years of repeated habits. And if habits can create risks, then habits can also build protection. There's something I often tell my patients. Your body is always whispering to you. When your heart races after a sugary drink, when your head aches after a sleepless night, when you feel exhausted after what seemed like a harmless meal, that's your body sending signals. Listen to them. Don't ignore them. I'd also like to leave you with a reflection. We cannot stop time. None of us can stay 30 forever, but we can choose how we age. We can age in fatigue and illness, or we can age with clarity, peace, and health, so we can enjoy every day with our children, grandchildren, and those we love. And that, I believe, starts with the very small choices you make today, right there at your table. If you've learned something new today, consider it a gift to yourself. And if you think someone, a friend, a loved one, might need to hear this, share this video with them. Because sometimes, just one small piece of knowledge can save a life. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you'd like to continue this journey together, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Every week, I'll be back to share with you the lessons I've gathered over more than 30 years as a doctor. And before we part, I want to leave you with one thought. We cannot extend youth, but we can absolutely extend health. Start that journey today.